All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. What is January 16th, 2018? I'm here for the breakdown daily recap, of course. I am Breaky CPK. Going to be going over what happened within the last 24 hours of the last competitive Dota 2 scene, and looking forward to talking about what we have today. We do have we have a new roster announcement. We have a little bit more general information coming out as well. But as I usually like to start, first things first, let's go over some results that took place within last night into this morning. So starting off, we're going to go over the Galaxy Battles Tournament. Now, you may be saying to yourself, wait, I didn't think that started until this weekend. You would be correct. The main event does not start until this Friday, actually. Friday morning, I believe. It's going to be, late Thursday night for a lot of the American crowd, more so. But they still need one more team. It's going to be, they claimed it as a wild card spot. Obviously, they've been making some adjustments with the tournament itself. They ultimately came down to 7 teams that were still willing to participate in the event despite Valve dropping out. So to make it an even 8-man tournament, they decided to host a wild card event, which actually they did already hosted a wild card event, or they were planning to, but it was also going to include a couple of other teams. I believe it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Kingwin and Empire. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the point is that it kind of got reduced. However, it does still include the 2 teams that they were originally planning to include in the wildcard match tournament, that is. And it was the winners from an event called the New Blood Championship. So I'll click on that right here for those that are watching on the YouTube channel or even the live stream. So this event, again, it included teams from Indonesia as well as the Philippines, and they were competing for a $25,000 prize pool. I believe ultimately the point of this event was to, one, get a couple of teams an opportunity to compete at a very, very big event when they normally wouldn't get that. And 2 was kind of, help grow the Indonesia and the Philippine scene at the Tier 2, Tier 3 level. So, it really is cool seeing opportunities like this, hence the name New Blood after all. And events like this are absolutely necessary for the growth of the scene as a whole. So first things first, I do want to give, honestly, a lot of props to Fallout Gaming and Galaxy Battles for deciding to run an event like this. I know they've been getting a lot of shit, frankly, from all different directions for this event, and some of it definitely deserving with how things are looking, but running an event like this, I think, was actually a really cool idea by them, and definitely props to them as far as doing so. So with that in mind, it now came down to the 2 top teams from this event. We're going to play off in a best-of-3 series to see which team would actually participate in the main event, and sure enough, get matched up against Evil Geniuses in the first round of the double elimination tournament. So, when it gets to the main event, obviously that's a different story, but just so happens that I was actually the caster for this match here. In fact, I wasn't even expecting it to happen early this morning last night. I was originally informed it was going to be happening coming up here the next day, and I was planning to cast it then. But, it was like an hour before it was going to start, and I got hit up. It's like, oh, it turns out it's tonight. Point is, I was able to hop on and to cast a series, and frankly, I'm glad I did, because although there's 2 teams, the teams ended up being Skyville versus PG Barrack X. At least that's how I'm pronouncing it. One team from the Philippines, Skyville from the Philippines, PG Barrack X from the Indonesian region. Obviously, we know nothing about these teams. We did come to find out they are pretty much all Divine 5 players, and one of them even in the top 100 rankings of the Southeast Asian region. So, they're legitimate players, especially in the TMM side of things. But obviously, it is very, very difficult to break through into that next tier and true competition. So it was a huge opportunity for these 2 teams, knowing that the winner of this best-of-3 would advance on. And it was very entertaining. We went the distance. We went all 3 games. We had very unique drafts. Skyville ran a massive 4-1 heal strategy around a Shadow Fiend core, sure enough, and that was their second game. That was the second game, that they ended up losing to then force it to a game 3. But so it didn't necessarily work in the end, but there was parts of it that was working, and that was really interesting to see. So, again, I really enjoyed the series, if anything, for that. It brought some unique Dota to the table, and yes, we weren't dealing with the absolute best tier players that we've ever seen by any means, but, that's not fair. That only is a very select few of players, and it's events like that again, give opportunities to up-and-coming teams to allow them to have the chance and maybe grow. Point is, PG Barrack, they lost the first game, and Skyville, it looked like they were going to continue that momentum even, but PG Barrack came back in game 2, force the third game, and then they looked like the better team, no doubt, in game number 3. And so the team from Indonesia ends up qualifying, sure enough, despite it being, a Filipino event. So, really unfortunate for Sky. I do feel a little bit bad for Skyville there. But the team from Indonesia qualifies, and as a result, they are going to get matched up against Evil Geniuses in the first round of this double elimination tournament. So, again, we're not expecting, frankly, anything from this team, and it would be silly to do so. And, even watching the series yesterday, yeah, I'm sure Evil Geniuses is, frankly, going to stomp them 2-0. And whoever they face in the losers bracket even on top of that. But, again, it's, props to the Fallout Gaming for giving a team like this an opportunity. And PG Barrack, hopefully they make the best of it, the experience. I'm sure they will, because it is a great one. And possibly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that the players on the team are going to be able to enjoy. There you go. So that the Galaxy Battle event is set. We have the 8 teams. Once again, one more time. Infamous, OG, TNC, Evil Geniuses, Team Spirit, Pain Gaming, VGJ Thunder, and now PG Barrack X concludes our final 8, and they'll be duking it out in a double elimination tournament, which, once again, as it stands, is still set up to be a $500,000 prize pool tournament. So this is a very, very significant event still, despite it getting dropped its major status. It's still a bigger prize pool than most minors out there, really all the minors out there in the Dota 2 competitive circuit. So money-wise, this is absolutely a big deal. It's understandable why some of the teams did decide to still make the trek, despite the pullout of Valve. So enough about Galaxy Battles. We'll preview more of the event itself probably in a couple of days from now, as it's going to be kicking off that next morning. So there you go. We have more results to go over. The GESC series, which is going to be in Jakarta. This is yet another minor on the circuit list. So GESC, kind of this new organization on the scene. Really curious to see how they ultimately perform and what they're able to do with an event. Their qualifiers are currently taking place. Now, there is a little bit of drama, I think you can almost say, when it comes to their qualifiers. And one of the first things that you will note is that it is a direct invite only qualifying tournament. Now, when Valve created the Dota 2 Pro circuit, they made a couple of pretty big rules. One of those was the fact that you're going to be allowed to use a coach during the draft. Was pretty big. The idea that there's one other one that I wanted to mention before, but so as a coach before the draft. Blanking now. The other one, damn it. Anyways, it leads into the region specific. The region specific, obviously the events need to have at least one team being able to qualify through a qualifier event of sorts from South America, North America, CIS, Europe, Southeast Asia, and China, of course. So it at least had to be those 6 teams. And then whatever you wanted to do from there was left up to interpretation. Valve made it pretty clear. Again, this was them creating a structure, a very loose structure, but they did not want to step on the toes of these third-party organizations. They wanted to ultimately still give them the freedom, understanding that there is a business side of this to running these events, and it has to be profitable for them, whatever they deem that to be. So as long as they're following these simple rules. Oh yeah, it's a roster lock is what I was going to bring up earlier. Anyways, so we've seen some interesting things happening with events as a result, and there's definitely been some questionable things. Things like certain events, like the Perfect World Masters, for example, being very China-heavy when it comes to the qualifiers and the invited teams. We've seen the Dream League event being very European and CIS-heavy, on the other hand, when it comes to when it came to their event. So, and I actually wanted to double-check something real quickly right here before I talk about the GESC and what they are doing. Because if I'm not mistaken, speaking of Dream League, they did have open qualifiers. Okay, for some reason I thought that they did not have an open qualifier, to be honest. I'm trying to remember if there has been an event yet that did not have an open qualifier. And frankly, I am having trouble doing so. Let me check a couple of these real quickly. I could swear we had at least one that did not. Okay, yeah, it was the Dota Pit. Well, at least some of the Dota Pit. So a couple of the regions, it looks like, yeah, it was invite only, including China even. North America had an open qualifier, very interesting. And I'm guessing Europe did as well. Yeah, Europe did as well. Southeast Asia did not. So we have had an event before in Dota Pit, as we're seeing right here. They've decided to also run a similar format where they wanted to just make sure to get a select few teams the opportunity to then qualify for the big event. Now, there's a couple different perspectives on this. Personally, with how it's looked so far, I'm not necessarily against it. However, so it's kind of interesting because part of me wants to say for a minor event, that's where you should allow the open qualifier for. Because the minor events, at least from my perspective, and I've talked about this in the past, are supposed to be an opportunity for teams in the Dota 2 Pro circuit, even the top teams, to make up some points here and there, of course, and still a bigger prize, well, $300,000. But ideally, it was also supposed to be an opportunity for some lesser experienced team, these tier 2 teams, again, whatever you want to call it, the chance to participate in a big stage tournament and compete for a decent prize pool and possibly even those points if they're able to do so. However, when you make a point that they're not even able to compete, they're not even given the chance to advance onto the minor, that's where it does feel like it is a bit of an issue. Now, at the same time, part of me also does see where with a major event, maybe that's where the limit should be of you should have an open qualifier because that's the big grandiose, right? And everyone should have the opportunity to make it to what's considered the big events throughout the year. It just doesn't feel fair that some teams are being limited. However, so I'm kind of having an eternal debate is what's going on right here. I think the conclusion that I'm coming to after having this internal debate is I would like the idea of seeing Valve, again, this is a trial season. I've stressed that from the beginning too. But moving into the next season, I think from a couple of examples that we've seen earlier on, it would be interesting, or I more so feel that it would be right if they made it a absolute, if you're going to run a minor, you have to have an open qualifier for all the regions as well to then qualify for the direct qualifiers. However, major can be more invite-based if they would like, but they do have to use at least the standings to an extent, right? So when you're inviting teams, you can't just say like it's a completely new roster that was formed of big name players, sure, but they have 0 to very minimal points, and you decide to invite them over a team that's on the point list. That's where it most certainly would be an issue. So, again, these are things that Valve is going to have to look at going into next season and decide for themselves. But I guess with my initial reaction right now, so where that leads is I'm not necessarily the most excited that GESC decided to just do direct invites similar to the Dota Pit Minor, as mentioned before, to the qualified tournament and go from there. So I understand that an open qualifier is just even more work on top of that. But, we have cases, especially now with the new roster lock coming, where there's new teams forming once again. And how is it fair to ultimately decide if that team deserves an invite over another that's been together for a while and has been competing? In fact, I happen to have the Southeast Asia tab pulled up right here, and looking at the direct invite teams, frankly, I see an issue right here. And that's the fact that Clutch Gamers was not one of the invited teams. Clutch Gamers has actually been doing decent in a lot of these Southeast Asian qualifiers, yet here's the 4-team tournament, all 4 invited teams. You have Menexi, Execration, Fnatic, and Geek Fam, obviously all worthy, but where's Clutch Gamers, right? Where are they? Why don't they get the chance to even compete in this minor tournament, especially for what it's, in my mind, supposed to mean? So that is an issue. That's a red flag for me. Now, for GESC's sake, they're allowed to do this. This goes back to, this is more on Valve, to be fair, when it comes to their rule set and what they want to enforce. So I'm not necessarily getting on GESC because, again, I understand from their perspective, they didn't want to have to worry about an open qualifier, I'm sure. There's already so much to worry about, and they were not required to. So why would they if they didn't have to? Most events have been having an open qualifier because I think they're more experienced ultimately, and I think that is one of the reasons why GESC is not doing so, because they are newer to the Dota 2 world at least. But again, I hope it's something that we see change at least for the minor system, if not both the minor and the major, frankly. But All right, so with all of that said, we have a couple of these qualifiers starting, Southeast Asia included, and in fact, a couple of results. And how about this? Execration over Mineski 2-1 to advance onto the winter finals, and Geek Fam 2-0 over Fnatic 2-0. Man, if you said to me going into these qualifiers that this would be the winter finals, even with just 4 teams, I would have said that's absolutely insane. At least Fnatic or Mineski is going to make it on. Neither one makes it on. Obviously, I wasn't watching these matches, so kind of just going off of data right here. But, man, Execration did have to come back from after losing the first game. They won 24-minute in the second game. Jeez. And then took the third game in a 48-minute battle right there, looks like. But, man, even more impressive, surprisingly, even, Geek Fam 2-0 over Fnatic. Again, Geek Fam is... They're one of these teams in the Southeast Asia region that they're kind of like they're good competition, especially for that region, but they haven't really been able to do much more than that. I don't think they've qualified, and yeah, they definitely haven't qualified for any minor or major this year. But this could be an opportunity. Maybe they'll carry some momentum. But is this more Geek Fam being impressive or Fnatic kind of slacking because of the recent roster change and all the drama that they've been dealing with? Again, I didn't watch this series, so I frankly can't comment too much on that, but this is bad. I mean, Fnatic, there has to be a lot of pressure right now on Eternal Envy especially, and if I'm the Fnatic organization, I would imagine they are keeping a very close eye on how this is performing, because they clearly gave Eternal Envy a lot of control when it came to creating this roster, and to go from just qualifying to a major event, that was ESL, to then dropping a key player of that to pick up Universe. Again, I've talked about it in the last couple of podcasts. If you want to get my opinion on that situation, feel free to check out the last couple of daily recaps. But to do so, and then follow that up with a couple of very poor results, one in the PGL Bucharest major qualifier, and now here in the GESC minor qualifier, that's got to be concerning for Fnatic. Now, I understand it's still very early on. I don't want to jump to too many conclusions just yet. It's going to take a little bit of time to mesh, I'm sure. But they better start performing within the next month or so, or else, that's going to be, again, the Fnatic organization. It may not be the happiest, and we could be seeing some repercussions from there. All right, frankly, we probably can't, because the roster lock's coming up, and they're pretty much committed now to this roster. So, but yeah. Got to be some pressure. We'll see how they do with it. Now, they are still in the event, of course. It's double elimination, but now they have to face off against Mineski in the losers round 1. So this is going to shape up very interesting. Really curious to see how that works out. North America, the other region that's set to start here very soon, and we got the 4 teams in this one. You got Optic Gaming versus VGJ Storm, and Complexity will take on Animal Planet here in this 4-team double elimination event. I'm trying to think of some other teams that maybe were left out here of the NA qualifiers. Obviously, I'm guessing EG. Let's look at the main event real quickly. Yeah, EG was invited. Oh, interesting. Actually, on the Southeast Asian qualifier, so TNC must not have wanted to participate. They're probably busy with other events, because I thought that they were going to be invited, actually, to this event. That's why they weren't playing in the Southeast Asian qualifiers, but they must have turned it down. Again, this is one of these cases, being a minor event, and some teams like Virtus Pro, a secret, and I see TNC here very likely turning down even the opportunity to play in a minor because there's other things to focus on. Obviously, the majors itself, as well as there's just so many events in general going on. You're going to have to pick and choose which ones you want to participate in. So with the NA region, nothing's really standing out to me. Immortal. Oh wow! Wait, is Immortals not there? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one team. Immortals not part of the invite. That is something. Again, they're going through a little bit of a roster change themselves, but again, another case of why don't they get the opportunity? We're talking about a team that's qualified for a minor this year out of NA and has been a solid team throughout. So and. What was the decision to invite Animal Planet over them? Animal Planet, it's not like they've really done anything just yet. Now, they've looked pretty good, to be fair, in their first couple of qualifiers, but is that fair to invite them over a team like Immortals? I personally don't think it is, but it goes back to the GESC organization and how they're deciding to run these events. So, yeah, it is what it is. That's what they decided, and according to the rules, they are allowed to do that. Anyway, so this should be fun. This starts later on tonight with the NA region. And the other regions, I believe, are going to be in the coming weeks. They still need to figure out the schedules for it and the teams, it even looks like, in several of these other regions. South America. Oh, that's right. Immortal, or Infamous, excuse me, did beat SG Esports to advance on. So, yeah, they're going to play these other qualifiers throughout the coming weeks here. And Navi over Team Spirit 3-2. Okay, so, yeah, Navi's going as well as we saw there. So this one is starting to shape up now. All right, so that's it for tournament results that are currently going on. There was a new roster announced, so let's get into that real quickly. We're looking at what's now going to be called Team Admiral. Team Admiral, another roster on the list, and this is going to be captained by the great Dota Demon at that position 5. You're also looking at Boombox, Armel, RR, and Gabby as their full roster, so get maybe a better idea of what we're looking at right here. So Gabby in the 1, Armel in the 2, RR in the 3, Boombox in the 4, and Demon in the 5. Admiral Dota. It's a clever name. I like the name. Definitely one that rings pretty well. So props to them for that right there. But yeah, this is another team in the Southeast Asian region that definitely gonna have to start looking out for once again. Southeast Asia is getting very competitive. It's very similar to NA in a lot of ways. I feel like because you have the top dogs. Like you do in NA with the Evil Geniuses and even a Complexity. But in Southeast Asia, it's pretty much you got TNC, Fnatic, or more so TNC and Mineski. And then, you know, obviously Fnatic, they're going through the roster change, but still a very, very quality team that most certainly can qualify. Execration's been making a splash. Clutch Gamers is always solid. Now this Admiral Dota team. Southeast Asia is getting very, very competitive. And I think you could argue almost like when you look at the top 5, maybe the top 10 teams in the region, and you kind of compare them all to the other regions, and you know, try to say which one's the most competitive between those 10 teams. I think SEA would have to be up there. You know, perhaps China as well, of course, but SEA would definitely have to be up there as well. So, point is, yet another team in SEA, and we'll see how they perform. Definitely expecting possibilities, but it's going to be a tough region. No doubt. ESL1 Genting, they officially announced their talent list, and I am not on it, so I am really sad. No, obviously I wasn't expecting this by any means. Really anything that would be to come with the minor, especially a major status. Not necessarily expecting. I'm hopeful that does come, but it's not about making it about me. Obviously, big congratulations to all these guys here, especially including Trentpax. Trentpax is genuinely such a good guy. I've only had the chance to cast with him once or twice, and it was very early on when I was first breaking into Dota 2, but I've had more chances to talk with him, most recently in DC, and fantastic guy. He's an upstanding person. He's a very knowledgeable person, and, you know, well-spoken as well, so I actually hit him up after the TC event before I even knew this, frankly, hoping to get some co-casting opportunity with him, and he was excited for the idea as well, so perhaps that'll happen in the near future here. But yeah, big congratulations to him. You know, you look at the rest of the roster. Obviously, not too surprising. Nahaz does have history with a lot of the ESL events, so he's going to be there as an analyst on the panel. You got the Cat Blitz duo. You know, one of the bigger names is Toby not being there. I think people have been pointing out, but I don't know if he just simply wasn't invited or if this was a case of where he's just busy. I know he's working on some other projects right now, so I would believe it's more of that. I would believe it's more of that than he just simply wasn't invited. I would find that very hard to believe. So, anyways, that's the talent list here. You got the 10 people in total, and then of course there's the observers on top of that: Pimp, Munkle, and Buka. And I believe Knoxville actually mentioned that he was going to be going as well on the stats side of things. So, congratulations to everyone here for the ESL1 Genting event, which is going to be happening next week at this point. So. Perfect World, the Dota 2 Asian Championships, that's right, they announced their final invite team, and to no one's surprise, it was Team Secret. I think I remember even mentioning that when we were looking at them needing one more invited team, and it's like, yeah, pretty obvious here, Team Secret's going to be the last invite team. They're the team right now on top of the Dota 2 Pro Circuit. If they weren't invited, it was very likely going to be because it was their decision for some reason, but why they wouldn't want to come would be beyond me. So they're here. It's obviously $1 million tournament. This is one of the majors throughout the year. It's set to take place in later March, early April. So it's still a while before the Dota 2 Asian Championships will be happening. But we now have the 6 invited teams: Invictus Gaming, Newbie, Liquid, Vici Gaming, Virtus Pro, and Team Secret is on that list right there. So no teams from NA, no teams from Southeast Asia And, of course, no teams from South America when it comes to the invited list. So we'll see how the other qualifying spots look when they open up here. But ultimately set up to be a 16-team tournament. And that brings us to our last piece of news. This daily recap's running a little long here, guys, so I want to make it quick. But the Dota 2 Pro Circuit, Valve's already talking about next year. And that's exciting for a couple of reasons. One, it means that this wasn't a flop by any means. This season wasn't a case of, oh, we'll see what happens, and we don't know if we're going to continue though. This is basically making it very clear, as if it wasn't already, that it's happening, man. This Dota 2 Pro Circuit, it's the direction that Valve is interested in really heading towards and continuing to go towards and doing what they can to improve on it. And this is already an improvement right here in the sense that they're giving organizations a lot of time now to come to them with presentations, with proposals, and tell them if they're interested in running a major event for the next Dota 2 Pro Circuit, specifically during the fall portion, the early portion of next year. As it goes for this case, so looking for majors that would be grand finals landing on October 20th to 21st. That's my birthday, by the way, just saying. November 17th through the 18th and December 15th through the 16th. So they're looking for those specific dates. But again, the idea that they're already getting this figured out is exciting, and hope that this works out smoothly. And it's good to see this advancement being made by Valve, one of many I'm sure that we're going to see continue to be made going forward here. Again, this specifically, they're only asking for major proposals. Then they're going to look at the minor events on top of that, but they want to understandably get the majors figured out first, being the significance that they are. So, all right, daily recap officially going to be wrapping up here of what is January 16th, 2018. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, my name is BreakyCPK. Feel free to leave feedback below on anything from this episode or previous episodes or whatever. Ask any questions. Also, follow me on Twitter and Facebook, as well as my Twitch channel. Really, it does help, guys. Even sub to this channel if you wouldn't mind. If you really enjoy this content, let me know. It does help as far as continuing to create it. I've been doing the daily recap every day so far. I know it hasn't been long yet into the new year. This is now only day number 16, but it's been fun. It really has. It's been a lot of fun so far, and the plus for me is that I do help keep myself caught up in what's going on in the Dota 2 world, on top of sharing the news with you. But down the line, perhaps more advancements to come with it, and any and all support is definitely very welcome. So thanks once again, guys, and I'll see you on tomorrow's daily recap. Okay. So there you go, guys. That's the daily recap.